joy of being together made you want to stay. Take me back to Nana's table. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to Life with Nana. I'm Nana and I'm so glad you're here today. Today we found a great buy on cabbage at our local store. And so I'm going to make some freezer slaw. I'm not going to make much of that because Papa doesn't like it and I do. I like it on like a pork roast or something, which we're going to have later in the week. And we're going to make some fermented sauerkraut. We're going to make some homemade sauerkraut with it. So the first thing we need to do though is we need to get our liquid ingredients for our slaw, and we need to get those on the stove so they can come to a boil, and then they have to completely cool off before you put it in with the rest of the mixture. All right, so I'm just going to make a half a recipe of this. So I will put the full recipe in the show notes, and I will try to be conscious of putting a reminder that I did only make a half a recipe. But anyway, so this is what the full recipe calls for. 2 pounds of shredded cabbage, a tablespoon of salt, 2 large carrots, a cup of sugar, a cup of vinegar, 1/4 of a cup of water, a teaspoon of dry mustard. So I am going to be halving that. So let's get the liquid ingredients in my pan here, and we can get all that going. All right, so the first thing is I'm going to go ahead and put my sugar. It calls for 2 cups, so I'm using 1. I'm using a half a cup of white vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar, the recipe said. I'm using 1/8 of a cup of water. I'm going to use a half of a teaspoon of dry mustard. And we're going to put in a half a teaspoon of salt. We're going to give this a stir, and I'm going to put it on the stove over there and let it start coming to a boil. And then we're going to come back and we're going to get our cabbage shredded. You need cabbage and carrots. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so we've got that on the stove, and we are ready to start shredding our cabbage. And I'm going to do one recipe at a time because, well, just because my brain works better that way. You could go ahead and shred all the cabbage that you want, that you were using for both recipes, but I'm not sure how much it's going to take. And I'm just peeling off these outer layers. I started out with a clean dishwasher, of course, and cleaned up the kitchen and had everything ready to go so that I wouldn't have to worry about any of that. And I can cut this up. As I said, this is just cabbage from the grocery store. It was a good buy. 39 cents a pound. That's really good around here. And we didn't grow a spring garden or an early garden, so we didn't have any cabbage out there. So as you saw on the video, I think right before this one, I'm not 100% sure. It could be one that's a little further back, but we spent about 3 weeks getting the backyard ready for the garden and getting the garden planted. And so I'm really excited because uh, we've got okra coming up, we've got green beans coming up, and we've got butter beans coming up, and cucumbers coming up already. So that's phenomenal. It's been cool here in Alabama. We're having what people call blackberry winter around here. So you take off enough of these leaves so you feel comfortable. All right, let me get this plugged up. And I have my food processor here, and I bought this at a garage sale for like $30, $35, something like that. And it was almost brand new. The lady said that it's a KitchenAid, and she said that she only used it to make slaw during the holidays. So I've gotten good use out of it. So I think that's going to be perfect. All right, let me turn my scales on up here. I have a bowl with my scales. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I did this, so I'm not sure what 2 pounds looks like. And actually, I only want 1 pound. And that's 1 pound exactly. That's a half a head of a small cabbage. So that's going to go a long way. That's really, really nice. Let's get rid of this garbage. Now it says for 2 large carrots, and I didn't have any large carrots. I had baby carrots here. I have some of these, so that's what we're going to use. Did I put my thing back in there? Yes, I did. Okay. So we're just going to fill this up till we feel like it's got enough in it. I love this because you can put this in the dishwasher. And I love any appliance that I can put in my dishwasher. All right. All right, so I think that's pretty good. Let me stir this back here. You just want to get it to the point that everything is melted and married together. I'm not going to wash this because we're going to be doing the same process again for our sauerkraut. And if you've never made sauerkraut at home, it's super, super simple, very economical. Get my thing turned around the right way. All right. The cabbage is good. Okay. Let me give me another bowl. I won't need this, I don't think. I'm going to set this over here for now. And I have 2 half-gallon jars. Now, I have these little, you put them on your ring like that, and you put them on top of your jars, and it lets air escape, but it doesn't let bacteria back in. So I like these. So you don't have to worry about burping your jars. And I also have these glass pucks. And I really like the ones that have the well in them. So you can see how I can put my finger down in there. And I'm going to wash these because they've been sitting in the shelf there. You want everything very clean. So I washed my jars. I'm going to wash these. All this was clean. Everything is clean. So okay, those were in their container and they've been run through the dishwasher, but I did want to wash them off just a little bit, get the dust off of them. So for a half a gallon, you're just going to pack your cabbage down in there, and you're going to use 1 to 3 tablespoons of salt per quart of water, and you're going to pour that over this. It's just a matter of taste of what you want. So I'm going to go probably somewhere in the middle, maybe 1.5 per quart. But I do. So this is a half a gallon jar. So I'm going to use this. So half of this would be a quart. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and fix a whole half gallon because I need enough to pour in both of these containers. I'm going to fix 2 half-gallon jars of kraut. So I'm going to put I'm going to put 3 in this half gallon. Now, if you think you would want it a little more salty, you would put a little more salt in it. But I think this is going to work out just fine for me. I'm going to turn on my kettle back here and let it start getting warmed up to melt that salt. I don't want it hot. I'm just going to put a little bit of water in there, melt the salt, and then I'll fill it the rest of the way up with just room temperature water. And I'm probably going to put a few carrots in this as well. I like carrots in there. You can ferment almost any vegetable. And I love sauerkraut. I love fermented carrots. I really like those. Those are really good. So I'm going to have to set me up a little fermenting station to get all this going somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to put it. But we'll find a place. Because that was too good a deal to pass up. And this thing makes short work of this. Now, you can do this by hand if you want to. All this takes is really a little time on your part, and you can have something that is so, so good for you. And I love that. One thing I forgot to do here on this is to, first of all, stir it around. And I need to sprinkle it with some salt. And that'll start pulling some of the juices out. So probably about a tablespoon of salt. And we're just going to mix that all together. And we're just going to set it back right where I had it. And that's going to keep this. That's going to help pull all the liquid out, or pull some of the liquid out, and help keep it crunchier. And I'm going to pull this outer leaf off. This is very clean cabbage. I'm pulling these outer leaves off. I don't feel the need to wash it. If you want to wash it, go right ahead. I'm going to pour this into this bowl. You know, I am so flustered this morning. I don't know what's wrong with me. Have you ever had one of those mornings when you're just kind of flustered and you can't seem to get things going the way you want them to? I was making sure I turned that eye off. Look how quick this goes. I'm going to go ahead and do some carrots. Do y'all see what I mean? The devil's trying to aggravate me today. Not today. We're not having it, are we? That's right. All right. So let's pour this in here. I'm going to bowl up here. And we'll see how far this gets us and see if we need more. My sink is clean over there. I know y'all see me putting stuff in there and getting it back out. But I washed it really well and it's clean. And I've also got this little mat that I keep in there that keeps it up off the bottom. I got that at Dollar Tree. I really like that thing. Now I'm using Redmond real salt. That's why it's pink. You can use any kind of salt except salt that has iodine in it. You do not want to use what we all grew up on with the iodized salt. So, I don't want to use water out of the tap because it has chlorine in it. We don't want to do that. So we're just going to use some bottled water. So let's see. First jar. And I love this big funnel. I bought this thing years ago. Can't even tell you how long I've had it. I've used it and used it and used it. It probably came with some other appliance, a juicer or something like that. But I found it for like 50 cents or something like that, which makes me happy because I have used this thing so many times. I love to go to thrift stores and yard sales and different places like that and try to find things that I know I could use and I will not pay full price for it. That saves me a lot of money. Just like my food processor. Stopped at that yard sale that day. I was so excited, y'all. I'll tell y'all what. That year we had grown a lot of cabbage. And I was so excited to find that. That was just a good find. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this about half full of the cabbage. And then we're going to push it down. We're going to put the liquid in there and we're going to push it down. Because you want it pretty tight in the jar. Let me get something to push it down with. See if this will fit down in there. Yeah. You just kind of want to tap it down. And I'm going to pour some of my brine over it. And we're going to add more cabbage. Some people love fermented foods and some people cannot stand them. I guess that's true for anything. Y'all, I'm making a big mess. Y'all knew Nana was a messy cook. Messy, messy cook. You want this pushed down in really well. You want it kept under that brine. Of course, we're trying to create an environment where those bad bacteria can't live. Okay. So that's pretty tight down in there. Can you see that? Got that pretty tight in there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little glass puck here. If you don't have one of these and you're using a wide mouth jar, you can take a jelly jar and push down in there and, fill it with the brine, with the water. but I'm going to do it this way. And I'm just going to let some of that brine come over into this. And that's going to be good. I am going to fill it up just a little bit more. Another thing you have to be conscious of is to set this in something that, because it may bubble over. So I'm going to set it in a 9 by 13 pan, and I'm just going to set it somewhere where I can keep an eye on it. And when you start seeing bubbles come up, you'll start seeing bubbles come up. And it's going to take anywhere to 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how cool your home is. And so what I recommend is at 3 weeks, give it a taste. If you like the way it tastes, then you're going to take this little rubber piece off here, you're going to take your puck out, and you're just going to put a regular canning lid and ring on it. And you can put it in your refrigerator. And that'll slow down the fermentation process, and that will help. All right, so we have our first jar of sauerkraut ready to go. Right now it's just cabbage. But, all right, so we have 2 half-gallon jars of cabbage and carrots in the brine, ready to go, and we're going to let this turn into wonderful sauerkraut. So I'm so excited for that. So I found this baking dish. I think it's around a 2 quart or 2.5 quart, but I'm going to set my jars over in to this, and then over between my canner and my bread maker, I am going to go ahead and just put these over there, and we'll let them go and see how they do. All right, so I've got this ready to go, and I'm going to put it over here between my canner and my bread maker. It should stay between 65 and 75 degrees from what I've read. Please do your own research, though. I'm not an expert at this. I've made this before, but I'm not an expert at it. So there are so many people on YouTube and online that are experts at fermentation, and you can learn so much from them. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our brine to this, our cabbage that's going in the freezer. All right, so I have my brine here, and I'm just going to pour that over there in that. And remember, this is a half a recipe that I'm doing. Again, because I'm the only one that's going to eat it. This is not something Papa enjoys that much, so. We're just going to give this a really good stir. Back in there. I did go ahead and squeeze out the liquid. I did that off camera. Sorry, I should have shown you guys, but I think that's going to look good. Now I found these really nice little, this holds a pint, and you can get some that hold a quart. And I'm just going to fill these up, and we're going to put this in the freezer. And that is all there is to it. I will label it so I'll know what it is, because you know how that is, guys. You put something in there and you don't really know. 6 months from now, you're wondering what it is. This would be really good on a pulled pork sandwich. I really like it on that. It'd be good just as a side dish for any pork that you're doing. I wasn't sure how many this was going to make, so I went ahead and got out 4, but I don't think it's going to make 4. think it's going to do like 2.5, which is fine. That'll be enough. I think what I'll do is even just take just a little bit out of these two. Since it's just me going to be eating it, I don't need the whole pint. And that way I'll get 3 containers that have almost a pint in it. All right. Let's wipe these off. We're going to put our lids on. We want to make sure that's down really well, really tight. And if my marker is in here, it's not, it's outside. That's okay. We'll use some tape, some freezer tape. Probably be better anyway. And I'm just going to put on here slaw and the month and year that it was made. Hopefully it will be eaten up this summer as we are cooking more outside. So, that pen all right. Come on. There we go. 5th month of 25. We wound up with 2 half-gallon jars of sauerkraut, and we wound up with 3 little less than pints of freezer slaw. So that is a job well done, and I'm so tickled to have that finished. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that if you like the content we're putting out, that you will subscribe, like, share, and comment. I always love it when you guys comment. And remember that Nana loves you. I'm so proud of you. And you always have a friend here. Love you guys.